1, 2, 3. Stop.
Dear God, thank you for the world, your weather and your food. Today we thank you for all you have given us. Sorry that we damaged your world so that not everybody has enough. Please be with us as we think about you and your world this afternoon. Amen.
And it's hello from me too, and welcome to this harvest worship. So we're going to be spending some time thinking about God, we're going to be spending some time thinking about our world. And to help us do that, we're going to have a few songs, one at the beginning and one at the end. But as we can't sing, the songs do have actions, so you can follow the actions. They're both songs you know, Creator God and Waymaker. And I know I can't wait to hear you all sing Waymaker when we can, but now we can learn some actions to go with it. So if you want to get ready, stand on your feet and you can join in with the actions of our first song, Creator God.
You pop the freckles on my face, and all the fish that swim and all the birds that fly were made from your incredible imagination. Creator God, we're singing to the Creator God of all the world. Creator God, we celebrate you. We celebrate you. Stripes on every bee, and all the grass that grows and all the leaves that fall, part of your amazing plans for this creation. Creator God, we're singing to the Creator God of all the world. Creator God, we celebrate you. We celebrate you. A heart in everyone, and all the music played and all the dancing done reminds us that we're made to be creative like Creator God. We're singing to the Creator God of all the world. Creator God, we celebrate you. Creator God, we're singing to the Creator God of all the world. Creator God, we celebrate you. Creator God, we're singing to the Creator God of all the world. Creator God, we celebrate you. Creator God, we're singing to the Creator God of all the world. Creator God, we celebrate you. We celebrate you. We celebrate you. We celebrate you.
So I've got a little activity for you to do in your classes now. You need one hula hoop in your class, and then you need some small object. It might be a little teddy bear or a pencil or a beanbag, something like that. So we're going to need one volunteer who's going to come and sit in the hula hoop, and then the object is going to be put just outside the hula hoop, and the person inside the hula hoop needs to reach and pick up the item outside the hula hoop. Now at first that might be really easy, but each time you pick it up, we're going to move it further and further away. So the person in the hula hoop, you can move position, but your feet and your legs must stay inside the hula hoop at all times. So I want you to think, as you're playing this little game, what it feels like when the thing you're trying to reach keeps moving further and further away. And what would it be like if your object was chocolate? You really want it, and every time you go to reach for it, you can't quite reach it. Or maybe if it was the TV remote, that would be really frustrating, wouldn't it? So have a think about how you feel and talk about that in your classes as you're trying to reach for an object that keeps getting further and further away. So if you want to pause the video for a moment and have a little go of that hula hoop activity in your classes. Well, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that little activity just to get us thinking. I wonder how you felt when you were reaching for an object. Something that was easy to grab at first, but then got harder and harder and harder to reach. And how did you feel when you couldn't reach it? When your feet had to stay in the hoop and your legs had to stay in the hoop, but you couldn't reach the object? Did it get more and more frustrating? More and more difficult? I'm going to swap now and think about something, a big question. I'm going to think about hope. What is hope? When do we hope? Why do we hope? What do we hope for? These are some big questions that maybe in your class you can have a chat about later on. What does it mean when there is no hope? And how does it feel if hope is disappearing? If hope is getting further and further away? And if you can imagine when you were playing that game, reaching for your small object, you can imagine if that small object was chocolate that you really, really wanted. But what about if that object was hope? If hope was getting further and further away? If you couldn't hold on to hope anymore, if it seemed like hope was disappearing. And we're going to be thinking about this because in our worship today, we're going to be thinking about the people of Ethiopia. And our hope is that we can, in a little way, bring hope within reach for the people of Ethiopia. You might notice on this slide it says hope within reach, because it's really frustrating if you haven't got anything to hope for and all the things that you do hope for are too far away, are too difficult to get to. Now I wonder why the people of Ethiopia might need help. Well, I want to introduce you to a lady called Orbisa. And there's a few slides to come up with a few questions to think about, and then we're going to watch a video that will tell us all about Orbisa and why she might not have much hope at the moment, but maybe there are some things that we can do that would give her more hope so that she would be able to reach for it and get the things that she needs. So have a little think about this and a little watch of this video.
Your neighbour is thirsty, but there is a solution, and there is hope. For many people in the north of Ethiopia, the impact of climate change is devastating. They used to expect rain up to 4 months a year, but now it only falls in August. People don't have enough water to survive. It is an issue of life or death. And for families like Orbisa's, everyday life is a real struggle.
My name is Orbisa and I have 9 children. Life is very challenging here. We have no food and are dependent on our livestock for our livelihood. Whenever there is no rainfall, our animals die as there is no grass or water. This affects our lives significantly. We will not get money or have milk to drink. We have no other option. When it rains, I only need to walk 5 minutes to collect water, but these water sources are now dry. Every night, I walk for 10 hours to collect water from a lake. The walk is dangerous. I can face wild animals such as hyenas and leopards. The water I collect is not sufficient. I am only able to collect less than half of what my family needs each day. We need most of it for drinking, but sometimes it is not enough, and my family has to go to bed thirsty. I feel extremely sad whenever I cannot provide water for my children. It hasn't rained for 6 months, and I don't know when it will rain next. It is God who knows when the rainfall will come. I worry about my children and my family. I worry about the small livestock which are remaining. I feel worried whenever I think about the future. If we could get water access in our village, this would change things for me. This is the first and most important thing that would give me hope.
Orbisa's story is sadly all too common. Forced to find any kind of water, more people are getting sick, and their livestock, their only source of income, are dying due to lack of water. Because of climate change, the area has become even more dry and arid, like a desert. People are suffering, and many are giving up hope. But there is good news. Tearfund is changing lives by working with local partners to set up solar-powered wells that will provide clean water closer to communities. This will help to restore hope and give new life for all who live there.
In the last 10 years, droughts are increasing from year to year. Availability of water is very, very difficult. Tearfund has started now working with FSA, saving lives by creating access to potable water, drilling boreholes and developing water supply systems. The greatest joy and happiness we could see in communities is when they get water. Lives are being changed and they are seeing the love of Jesus. When we provide water for these communities, we are changing the lives of the coming generations too. The young people, the children, their lives will change definitely when we provide water for them.
Matthew 25:25-40. I was afraid, so I went off and hid your money in the ground. Look, here is what belongs to you, you bad and lazy servant. His master said, You knew, did you, that I reap harvest where I did not plant, and gather crops where I did not scatter seed? Well, then you should have deposited my money in the bank, and I would receive it back, all in interest, when I return. Now take the money away from him and give it to one who has 10,000 coins. For to every person who has something, even more will be given, and he will have more than enough. But the person who has nothing, even the little that he has, will be taken away from him. As for the useless servant, thrown outside in the darkness, there he will cry and gnash his teeth. When the Son of Man comes as King and all the angels with him, he will sit on his royal throne, and the people of all the nations will be gathered before him. Then he will divide them into 2 groups, just as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will put the righteous people at his right and the others at his left. Then the King will say to the people on his right,
Come, you that are blessed by my Father, come and possess the kingdom which has been prepared for you ever since the creation of the world. I was hungry and you fed me, thirsty and you gave me a drink. I was a stranger and you received me in your arms. Naked and you clothed me, I was sick and you took care of me, in prison and you visited me.
The righteous will then answer him, Well
When, Lord, did we ever see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you a drink? When did we ever see you a stranger, welcome you in our homes, and naked and clothe you? When did we ever see you sick or in prison and visit you? The king will then reply,
I'll tell you whenever you did this one of the least important of these followers of mine. You did it for me.
Now I wonder, have you ever been really, really desperate for a drink? Can you remember the last time you were so desperate? How did it feel to be so thirsty? And was it easy to find a drink, or did you have to wait a while? I wonder how you'd have felt if it had been impossible to have a drink, if you knew you were so thirsty but there was no way you could get a drink, if all of the water had run out. And then, what about if you found some water but the only water that you could find was dirty and would make you really poorly? Well, we've heard Orbisa's video and her story, and for Orbisa, she has no choice but to walk for 10 hours every day to get water. Now 10 hours is a very, very long time. Orbisa has to walk to get water every day longer than you are at school. She has to walk for longer than it takes to get a train from Preston all the way down to London. She has to walk for longer than it takes to run a marathon, and much, much longer than it takes to bake a cake or to climb to the top of Pendle Hill. Water is so, so precious for Orbisa. It brings them so much joy and so much happiness when they get it, but it is so difficult for them to find. Now I wonder, what do you use water for? We drink it and we wash with it. I wonder if over the summer did anybody fill a paddling pool with water when it was really, really hot? Yeah, we did in our house too. And at the moment, washing our hands is really important, isn't it? We've got to wash our hands for at least 20 seconds and sing happy birthday twice as we do so to stop the spread of the coronavirus. But for people who live in places like Orbisa lives in Ethiopia, they haven't got enough water to drink and the water runs out, and so they haven't got enough water to wash their hands. And so they can't stop the spread of coronavirus. It makes it really difficult to control it and to stop it, because like us, they can't wash their hands because they haven't got the water. We just go into the bathroom and turn the tap on and we've got some soap and we wash our hands, whereas they can't do that. But what is it that we can do to help them, to help families like Orbisa? Well, one thing that we can do is we can pray, and we'll do that in a minute. But also we can raise some money that would mean that a charity called Tearfund and other charities that they work with would be able to put some water taps near where Orbisa lives. So it would be easier for her and the rest of her village to get clean water. She wouldn't have to walk for 10 hours every day. That would mean she'd be able to spend more time with her children, she'd be able to look after her animals, she'd be able to grow more food. Lots and lots of things she'd be able to do, and she'd be much safer because she wouldn't be getting attacked by hyenas and leopards. So what we want you to do is, I'd love you to think of 10 challenges that you could do to raise money, because Orbisa has to walk for 10 hours every day, and so to help us remember and think about those 10 hours that she walks, I want you to think of 10 different challenges. Now you might like to make them connected to water, so it could be that you could water the plants for 10 days, you could wash all the dishes for 10 days, maybe you could bath your dog. You might like to do 10 different tasks or do something for 10 minutes. Could you go without talking for a whole 10 minutes? Or maybe could you run for a whole 10 minutes? So have a think about what you could do to raise some money. And you might like to do that on your own, or you might like to work that out of 10 challenges that you could do as your class to raise money so that you can help people like Orbisa to get water. But as well as doing that, we can also pray. And so hopefully you've got a sheet in front of you, or a member of staff will give you one soon. And on that, it's got a water droplet on there, it's got a bucket on there, and it's got a smiley face on there. And so as we pray, what I'd like you to do is draw or write your prayers, or maybe you just want to think them in your head on this piece of paper. And so what I want you to do is I want you to write a thank you prayer on the water droplet. I want you to write an asking prayer. I want you to ask God for something and write that on the paper bucket. And then finally I want you to write a prayer of joy on the smiley face. Water brings Orbisa and her family so much joy and happiness. What is it that brings you joy? So that's a thank you prayer on the water droplet, an asking prayer on the paper bucket, and a joy prayer, prayer of joy on the smiley face. And so pause that video for a little while whilst you do that, and then we'll have a final prayer and our final song.
We go in the love of his Father, in the name of his Son, and we go in the power of Spirit.
We go to share with the good things you have given us.
We go to share with our friends and neighbours. We go here because you help us. And God us. Amen.